Thanks again for joining us for this aluminum tarot reading. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, it's nice to have you here. If you're a returning visitor, thanks so much for coming back. Once again, we'll be reading for the Black Mirror spreads. We're going to be clearing those out. The last two ones with Scorpio and Pisces. We're going to read for Scorpio this time for the Black Mirror reading. Now, if you like this channel, please give a like, share, and subscribe. Ding the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the following updates. Also, if you'd like a personal reading, feel free to reach out so that I can give you a reading based on your specific energies and not necessarily a general reading, which is broadcast out to hundreds of people or whoever decides to view it. So what the Black Mirror spread does is it tunes into the energies of your last toxic, narcissistic, or otherwise relationship, situationship, if you want to look at it, so that you can actually learn the lessons, surrounding the energies of that specific circumstance, I guess, if you want to say it. Normally, when I look at these types of relationships, whether they be with a narcissist or a toxic person or someone who ghosted or alienated you, these are sometimes a kind of karmic soulmate, which teaches you lessons about yourself and reflects this back to you through their actions. So they mirror your actions, or they do things that trigger certain actions or responses within yourself. And so that essentially allows you to become, for lack of a better word, the black mirror of each other. They show you the dark, shadowy side of your spiritual nature and allow you to ascend and become a better person. So also, before we get started, also please make sure that you block any scammers that are about on the internet, posing as different tarot card readers and basically scamming people out of their money and their clients. Please block, report, and shun these people. Make sure that they get what's coming to them. And that way people who are in the tarot community, who have led many of us, including myself, to practice this wonderful ancient art, to continue doing so and make a living off of it. That said, we're going to go ahead and get into the reading for Scorpio. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. We're going to read for the Black Mirror spread. Divine, please show me the Black Mirror spread for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Divine, please show me the Black Mirror spread for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Divine, please show me the Black Mirror spread for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Divine, please show me the Black Mirror spread for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Please show me this Black Mirror spread for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Two more. And last but not least, all right, so we're going to get this started. This is a large spread as before, so I'm going to walk through the different positions on this spread so that way you get a better understanding of what's being read here and which kind of energies or specific parts of your relationship that I'm looking into. So the first is the lesson. How did the relationship begin? How did the relationship continue? How did it proceed? How did the relationship end? There you go. Now, What was the initial attraction? Spilling cards everywhere. Apologies. Okay. What were the aims and intentions of the person? The other person? What was the codependency on Scorpio's side? What was the codependency on the other person's side? Okay. Next, how did you cope with the difficulties in this relationship? How did the other person take advantage of you, abuse you, or mistreat you? As a tactic? Yep. How did you begin pulling away? How did the other person try to coerce you into staying into the relationship? And finally, how did you protect yourself from the negative toxicity in the relationship? 2 cards came out. How did the person discard you? And how did the cycle close out? All right. Let's go ahead and clean up this spread a little bit so that you can see the cards. All right, there we go. So let's begin. Bottom of the deck, we have the Knight of Wands. This was a relationship that came in very quickly. Didn't kind of see what was coming towards you until, the person that you met was right there in front of you. It was a very quick relationship that started and ended very fast. And so due to the nature of this seems to be a very short-lived, passionate relationship that left kind of an indelible mark on you. It's something that changed you forever, despite it being just a fleeting moment in your life. Again, I don't think this was something that you saw coming, and you are now living with the lessons that this has taught you. Now, we start this with the lesson itself, the Wheel of Fortune. And in this specific reading, what we see that this was a destined connection, something that seemed to be guided by the hand of fate. It came in, taught you the lesson, and then it moved out. And of course, this could have involved one of the fixed signs. This could have involved a Scorpio, Aquarius, a Taurus, or what's the other one? A Leo, that's right. And one of these different signs may have, been involved in the relationship with you, or you could have those in your chart as well, or both. That said, we move into how the relationship began. Firstly, the relationship began, seemed to be very loving when it first came in. There was an instant connection. The two of you met. You exchanged each other, cups with each other. It may have been not just a passionate relationship, but it seemed like it was a very emotional relationship. And you thought that this was your other half. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And we're going to see that it started out with this great energy, and then all of a sudden it proceeded with a very terrible energy. I'm not going to lie. So here you have two cards indicated by the Ten of Pentacles reversed and the Knight of Wands. So one of the persons may have been non-committal. That could have been you. It could have been the other person you would best know in your specific reading. Take the energies as they resonate. And for you, when this relationship dissolved, it began to dissipate. The emotional energy was there, but the longevity of the relationship was not there. And there was a holding back of passion between the two of you, even despite there being a lot of passion there for each other. And it almost seemed like this could have been someone that you could have had long-term potential with, but for some reason, one or both of you was very guarded in this specific connection. And that was what led to the downfall of it. It didn't feel like you could give it your all. And for that specific reason, you decided to detach or disconnect from it, or the other person detached and disconnect because they felt they couldn't provide what was needed to sustain this relationship long term. Moving into how the relationship ended, we have the Six of Cups reverse. So one or both of you then went back into the cup energy, and that in turn was used to reflect on this with a very negative light. So this can indicate bitterness, resentment, not necessarily like the Five of Cups, which is more like disappointment, but the Six of Cups reverse is more like a bitter, negative feeling that is projected onto the relationship. So one or both of you may be sulking and saying, well, that guy's a fucking twat, or something like that, or, I should have never given my heart to this person. So I am kind of getting the energy that one of them, if this was the other person, did not take accountability. Since we are reading for Scorpio, if this is your energy, you did not take accountability. And only you would know that energy, I suppose, in your reading. We do have here the Six of Cups reverse plus the Two of Cups. That is the Eight of Cups in the positive. So someone walked away from the relationship and left it alone. You have the Six of Cups reverse minus the Two of Cups. That's the Four of Cups reverse. So it's a missed opportunity when both of you are acting in the negative, or someone just felt rejected by this relationship overall. Now, moving into your energy, or the energy indicated on the on the side of the Scorpio, we have Seven of Cups. So more Cups energy. Maybe what initially attracted you or to this relationship or to the person that you were with is that perhaps you felt that you had a lot of options available to you at the time. You were playing the field and you saw this person. It seemed like they could be another option, another notch under your belt, or potentially just like a viable option out of all the others. Perhaps you liked your freedom, your independence, and maybe you had a lot of people giving you attention. In this particular case, this was a new person that entered your life, and it seemed like they were a little bewildering at first. You couldn't really read them as well as you thought you could, but out of all the options that you had, this one seemed like a very good contender. Moving on to the other person that you're dealing with, they have the Four of Swords reversed. They could be getting over heartbreak, or they could have, experienced a bit of a difficult moment in their life, or maybe they're trying to come out of a healing period. I think I get that a little bit more, considering that, after the person rests, this person is actually recovering from the Three of Swords energy here, which is heartbreak, third-party situations. And in the recovery process, they're actually getting this Ace of Swords underneath, which is used to gain clarity on that situation. And of course, they are in a place of sanctuary, indicated by the stained glass window, which is, of course, a church. And so once that healing period comes, then it's time to get out of that period. And that's when you met this person. So it seemed like whoever you met there was a period of healing that they were going through, and they now felt like they could actually get out of the situation and begin to mingle with the outside world. Moving into the world, speaking of which, in your energy is a codependency issue. Now, speaking of this indicates cycles, leveling up, completing old issues, and moving on to new ones. So it's an indication of wholeness. And for you, I think that there was something in your past that you had not quite yet resolved. And because of that, you were unable to actually move on from it. Perhaps this is something that was triggering this Seven of Cups energy as well. You may have felt at the time that you weren't really sure which kind of options were necessary for you. Although you were exploring your options, maybe this was done to kind of get in touch with your feelings again after a period of difficulty or heartbreak. And for you specifically, you had not yet closed out this cycle, indicating that there was unfinished business with a past person. We can pull some cards a bit later on to kind of understand that situation, why it's left undone. So you have the world reverse. The person over here has the Four of Swords reversed. So they're coming out of heartbreak. You have not quite yet gotten over that heartbreak. Whereas the person that you met, their codependency was that, how do I say? With the Fool, you would say that this person takes foolish risks. They kind of do things without thinking about things long term. They're a bit impulsive, it could seem. Or maybe they're just a bit blind to the realities of love. Maybe they took a chance on you thinking it would work out, and it didn't, and that's kind of triggered a little bit of negativity within themselves, because the Fool takes risks on things despite not knowing what's going to actually occur from that, not knowing the outcome. And he travels light. You can see in the Rider-Waite card here, card 0. The Fool here is actually carrying everything he needs to begin his Fool's journey. And he's taking, his foot on the cliff, and he could potentially fall, but for some reason he trusts the universe to guide him. He's got the sun at his back, and he's ready to move forward with his journey with his trusty little doggy here, his little fluffy friend. And this dog actually represents the loyalty and obedience to the path. Now, this person in particular, I get a bit of a negative vibe from that. It wouldn't be necessarily the Fool in reversed. It would actually be the Fool in the upright to an extreme. So this person, as a codependency or a toxic quality, this person is kind of just jumping into relationships without thinking or vetting the person properly. And that gets them into a lot of shit as they go down their life. And perhaps they were getting over a similar issue in which they did that. They had to heal from it, and now they're coming out of it. So that said, we're going to move on to the next part. Now, as the relationship progressed, and there was something within it that made you decide to close off. Whatever that thing is, I'm not really sure. We're going to pull a card for that as well. But you began to cope with the relationship by becoming indecisive, incredibly indecisive, to the point where it stagnated the entire relationship. And for you, this was really the only way to move forward. I'm going to go ahead and pull the card now so that I don't forget, because there seems to be a bit of energy in this that we should look at. Now, why did they cope with this relationship by Two of Swords? So we got 2 cards come out. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, that explains everything. Those 2 cards really explained everything. So, clarifying the Two of Swords. the reason why you shut down is for two reasons. Number one, you assume that this person, the relationship would be a failure automatically. So there's a lot of pessimism in the way you approach this relationship. And a lot of that is due to the fact that you had this Nine of Swords energy as well, which it's a lot of fear, anxiety, trepidation that keeps you up at night. It's like, it's so intense. It's not like the Eight of Swords where you could easily just walk away from it. It's the Nine of Swords where it's so intense that it keeps you up at night. It's the period right before you're pushed over the precipice into the Ten of Swords, where it's just like you're fucking done and you don't feel like dealing with it anymore. In this specific deck, what you're getting here is that this relationship triggered some insecurities within you, and you immediately began to resort to a pessimistic outlook. You did not want to deal with another failed relationship. And that is the reason why this World card has come out too, because the last relationship you had failed, and it seemed like you were now in a period of anxiety, stress, worry, and insecurity. So that said, that explains a little bit about the coping mechanism on yours. Now, the response they gave to your Two of Swords energy was the Knight of Swords reversed. So I'm noticing a bit of a trend here. We have two cards here. In the codependency, these are major arcana, which mean that these are really strong life lessons that the two of you have got to learn. And then in the tactics that you use to interact with each other, you have air energy, which is what you've both got stuck in, during the course of this connection. Now, with their response being the Knight of Swords reversed, they essentially, when they knew that you were becoming indecisive, they basically said, you know what, fuck this, I'm out. And they blocked you, they stopped communicating with you, and they essentially cut you out of the equation. So the Knight of Swords has this sword here, and they use this specifically to attack certain things. This can be a skilled debater, this can be like a person who acts rashly and impulsively, can be a bit rough around the edges, but in the reverse, it's kind of like, it's a guy just says, you know what, I'm putting my sword down, I'm getting on my horse, I'm walking, I'm trotting away. I'm not going to deal with this relationship. This isn't something that I want. I'm curious to ask though, what specifically was it that they saw in the relationship that made them walk away? What did they see in the relationship that made them walk away? Yeah. So, King of Wands. I can see this as two things. Now, the first is, if this is the way this was the person that was acting towards you, they really wanted to pursue you. But when you became indecisive and you seemed as if you didn't know what you wanted, or you just decided to put this person on the back burner, then they said, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to go pursue my passions elsewhere. They could also see you as a player. They could see you as, okay, well, this person's not really serious about anything. They lack the skills or the confidence to pursue this relationship with me. So, they must have other options elsewhere. They must be playing the field, which kind of in essence you were. They were kind of an option to you in the beginning. This could be vice versa. Take it as it resonates. I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there so I don't step on anyone's toes there. But you get the idea. Now, how did this relationship begin to fall apart? We go into these two cards here. The first card is the Empress. This is your energy. And this is how you begin to pull away from the relationship. So what you did is you just decided to allow new options to come in. Now, apparently you may be a person that attracts a lot of people. Fine and dandy, you've got the looks, you got the charm, but do you have what it takes for a relationship is what we're going to ask next. What was the Empress about? Can you clarify the Empress? Yeah. So yeah, you essentially just kind of went to a crawl. I'm getting a breadcrumby energy here, where you just said, okay, well, you know what? If you want me, you can come get me. And I don't know why my intuition's telling me this, but it kind of comes from a place of arrogance, or like a place of, I know my worth, I don't need no man kind of energy here. I don't know why I'm getting that, but it just popped into my head about it. So try not to get too offended about it, but that's what I see. I get an I don't need no man, or I don't need no woman kind of energy, giving a little shaky head. And, that's essentially how you began to back away from this. You were just like, oh, I can find someone else. I can get as many guys as I want. I have a lot of options to me. This was kind of the response from them turning you down and perhaps triggering you. Looking at that, because the Empress doesn't chase, she's number 3, where there's where there's 2 people, there's a third one right around the corner. Typically that's the way it works these days in dating, where you have 2 people dating, and then one gets bored, one wants new options, one has shiny object syndrome, and then they immediately have a third person lined up. So I kind of get that from this Empress here. She's attractive. She knows she's attractive. She can cultivate a lot of options, which she did have in the initial card here. So she's like, you know what? I've got Bob on speed dial. I've got Tom on number 9. So I'm just going to keep going through my list of contacts, my DMs and so on. And I'm just going to find someone else. And I'm just going to breadcrumb this guy here until he comes back to me. So as a person who did not want to chase, well, your guy never came back, because we see 2 cards here. See the Ace of Cups reverse. That was how they began to kind of respond to all of this that's taking place in the relationship. Normally this would be like kind of a hoovering or control kind of situation, but because it's the Ace of Cups reverse, this guy just basically said, you know what, I'm fucking done, bye. And he left you there. He lost interest, he lost the love. I think he also began to pour his energies into himself, because the Ace of Cups can represent an internal process of filling up your cup. But there was a clear disconnect from this relationship, and I think that you felt that. I think you genuinely felt that, which is what triggered you to kind of cultivate a lot of other different options. Now, in the end, what we have here, we have the Page of Swords and the 7 of Pentacles reversed. Here's the tricky part here, because we see on your side, this is how you pulled away from the relationship. This is how you decided to protect yourself in the relationship. Now, to get these 2 cards as your protection is very strange, considering that this is a card of pondering, pining about something, reevaluating and reassessing, but also Page of Swords. This is a person who's not communicating, but who is spying on other people. So did you or the person that you were involved with come to a realization that, maybe I'm wondering whether or not this was the right decision to make? Let me think about this for a while. In the meantime, I'll check up on him to see, or her, to see if they've got a new option lined up or something else. So this is very childish. Let's cut the bullshit on this one. I mean, if this is you, if you refuse to give anything because you had a pessimistic outlook on the relationship, You failed to close out past cycles. You had a lot of options available to you. When the person decided, hey, I value myself, I'm going to go ahead and pursue my passions elsewhere, then you stopped and said, well, I can do bad all by myself and I can find new options and stuff. However, at the very end, you're still keeping up with this person and waiting to see what kind of moves they make next, or whether or not what you did was effective against them. That's fucking stupid. I mean, this is just not, you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Now, keep in mind, this is either for you or for the person that you're dealing with. So please take it as it resonates. Have accountability where you need to, and the other person needs to have it as well. And finally, we have with the last card, your person's response, which is the King of Swords. What they're doing is that they're using this sword to cut out the bullshit. Normally, I would say they were a narcissistic piece of trash if they were the King of Swords in the reverse. But since it's in the upright, this is still a person who's got a decent head on their shoulders. Maybe they manipulated or were kind of a bit of a mastermind when it came to approaching this relationship, when they saw that you were flopping around and, not making any decisions and yet exploring options and things like that. They just said, you know what, here's a nice, happy, shiny sword. Kick rocks. And they cut you out and they moved on. King of Wands, King of Swords here. It's very, very decisive, swift action. There was no second guessing or thinking about this. Finally, the way this all ends in this particular story is the Queen of Cups. This is how the cycle closes out. This is a meditative state. Normally, this is a person who's caring, nurturing, compassionate, so on. Maybe these are things that you showed to yourself after this, whether you felt guilt, remorse, or that you needed a pause from relationships, or in general, how you felt about yourself. But the cycle of this closes out when you reflect on what took place here. This person is looking at this incredibly weird looking trophy. I don't know why it's got it kind of reminds me of the guy from Lost in Space, the robot from Lost in Space, the one that's always like, warning, warning, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson. But it's, the Queen of Cups is looking at this card and she's turned to the left, which indicates a reflection on the past. And so in that case, what we can indicate here is that perhaps now the reason why you're in this Seven of Pentacles energy is because you're reflecting on what took place in this relationship and whether or not it was the right move to do. And conversely, the person on here is closing out the cycle by doing the same thing. They are reflecting on this relationship to understand whether or not it was the right move for them to do. It's just that because these two come out with kings, they didn't really give it too much thought. They cut you out, they reflected on what happened, and they moved on. And that is one of the reasons why I think this Six of Cups reversed may reflect more so on yours rather than on theirs, because they end up as the King of Swords, which is not an emotional card. You've got the Page of Swords reverse, which is a immature nature. It's an immature energy in that you're spying on someone that you're thinking about and not really doing much about it or taking any action. So it would assume to me that you're finding some reasons to find fault in the other person or vice versa, and they're doing that to you. But really consider how that impacts, the course of the relationship. A lot of these readings I'm now seeing, it's not just like the other person is the dick face or something like that, but it's both people have qualities or toxicity that they need to work on and that they need to manage, because it's not just, this isn't a reading where I look at energies and I try to say, oh, well, you're in the right, I'm going to validate your emotions. It's like, no, sometimes you have lessons that you have to learn, or vice versa, the other person has to do it and they have lessons that they need to learn. This is a mutual exchange. This is how it all began. You're exchanging 2 cups. Now, whether or not you've got water in those cups or Hennessy or something like that, or even Everclear, the 2 of you are going to drink from whatever you offer each other, and that is going to determine the course of the relationship. Because right here, underneath the bottom of the deck, or at the bottom of the deck, you have the Emperor reversed. This is a person who is very, very controlling. There are control issues throughout the course of this entire relationship that led to its downfall. On your end, if this relates to you, it's control over your emotions. And the way you respond to people and the manipulative tactics, the game playing, you have to call yourself on that, out on that, and say, maybe this is something that I need to do if I want a straight up relationship. And on their side, they need to quit jumping into relationships thinking that it's going to be their end all be all, when in fact, they're just landing themselves in places where people haven't reciprocated that energy to them, because they are getting over a heartbreak and then they jump into this relationship too. This is like so as a dog to his vomit does a full return to its folly. That's the kind of energy that I'm getting from this person here, and they need to, in their next relationship, consider that habit before cocking things up and making it happen again. So yeah, that's the relationship I see here. Anyways, once again, this is Aluminum Tarot. Thanks for joining me today. If you like this reading, please give a like, share, and subscribe. Ding the notification bell. Feel free to also reach out for a personal reading tuned into your energies. It was a pleasure reading for you for this time. Hope you learned something from it. Take what resonates again, and also take whichever side that you most identify with. Thanks again. Until next time. Bye now.